Thank you very much for inviting me to this great symposium. I'm now in Japan, and it's already 10:30 in the night, and, a little bit earlier than later than Shin's work. But today I'm talking about visual motion perception, and so the as you know well, in visual science, there is a great, the great influence by the deep learning technologies, in particular in the field of motion, object recognition. And the people are excited to think that, realize that the internal representation of the deep learning network trying to learn the object recognition have a very similar structure, architecture of the human brain. And this is a debatable thing, but at least this is really, exciting. So great interaction of the machine learning and the human vision. So I've working on motion perception for a long time, and so for me, how I want to understand the relationship between the human motion perception and also the computer vision. And so in the human in the study on the human visual motion perception, we know that there are motion sensing, first order motion, second order motion, and also that they are integrated into and that we use the flat motion and the global motion stimuli to understand it, and also that we also for the higher level we study a kind of biological motion or self motion from optic flow to understand how we interpret visual motion information. But since there are so many phenomena in the world, and probably in order to understand everything, the young students should read a lot of paper, but they are more excited to read more about fMRI studies, so that in order to make those accumulated knowledge about the phenomenology of the knowledge of the psychophysics, I think it's important to integrate the larger body of the past knowledge into a kind of one model. It should be the image computable model of visual motion perception, and so that for that purpose, probably computer vision has developed very dramatically these days, and so that many computer vision model is able to recover the 2D optic flow and the 3D scene flow very accurately, mainly using deep learning technologies. And but they behave very differently to human right now. So the main topic of this study in today's talk is about how we can make these two, human vision and the machine vision, similar. And so this is an outline. At first, I would like to do some comparison of the human vision and the machine vision models, and later I'll talk about our modeling research study on the first order motion and for the second order motion. And first about the psychophysics and the comparison of the human vision and the machine vision. And this is a simple demonstration of how the many, So this is a simple demonstration of how the many computer vision model works. So this is a cutting edge computer vision model like Raft or GMFlow. But these models actually, when we test these models with the simple Gabor rating stimulus or a very non-textual stimuli, they are very unstable. It doesn't show a very good, the clear optic flow in this case, because they are trained in the very complicated natural scene. So that's one problem. And the current computer vision models cannot see simple grading, and also cannot see the simple this kind of a reverse phi kind of stimulus. It doesn't work. And the other thing is that the many computer vision models have been trained with the natural scene like this. This is not real natural, but this is the computer graphics movies. And the computer vision people have, they make the database of this kind of movies and try to let the system learn the optic flow, ground truth optic flow, and so that they compare the performance. So that we would like to compare the performance of a human and with the computer vision model for this kind of stimuli. But unfortunately, we don't have psychophysicists that didn't have a good data for the optic flow seen by this kind of stimuli. So so that what we try to do is to first measure the optic flow of this kind of motion, the perceived optic flow. And our method is kind of crazy, I would say. So we show the I don't know how well you can see it on the Zoom, but we show the natural movie here and show the flash, very brief flash at the center, and ask the subject to match the random noise stimulus to be seen at the same speed and direction of the motion at the flash dot location. And then we, sorry, and this is the stimulus we use and the movie 1 to 5. And we at the 36 point for each movies, we measure the perceived optic flow and then we get the optic flow like this. And the red is the data for the human response, and the green is the ground truth. And there is a physically correct optic flow. And actually, you will see that there's a good agreement between the perceived flow and the physical optic flow, but there is some deviation. In particular, for this movies, there's a big difference. And then the next question: how well the motion model is able to explain this one? And we tried a variety of models, like a simple spatial pooling model and a computer vision model, including the deep learning-based model. And also, we tried some coordinate transformation, high-level, visual decomposition, taking into account that factor. And first, we see that this is a very simple comparison with the deep learning-based motion model. And basically, they have some this is a partial correlation with the human response. So that means that it has some correlation, have positive correlation with the human error. But the partial correlation is very low, and it cannot explain well the human error pattern. And also, we realize that we need to consider the high-level motion processing, like what Johansson reported in the biological motion or vector decomposition. And then in order to simulate it, we just they subtract the global object motion component from the local signal, and then we get the much better fitting data. So that means that probably the perception has two components. Okay, so this is I just skip it. So basically, our finding is that we first develop a psychophysical method to measure the human optic flow, and then we found that that can be explained only partially by the low-level motion detectors and the computer vision model, and the high-level component of the visual processing seems to be related is very influential. And then we are kind of sort of independent from that study. One of my students developed the motion model, and they're basically using a deep learning method, but at the same time, it's more biological plausible. So the model itself consists of two stages. First stage is the motion energy thing, and the second stage is this is the graph structure, and this is a kind of self-attention network. But this simulates the second stage empty level processing. And also, the other important aspect is that although we use the simple motion energy model, but the spatial parameter or spatial temporal parameters of these models are trained and learned through training. And it's also everything is learned, parameter learn. And this is the training how we train the model. And actually, we see that this is natural movies, and the models are trained with this kind of stimulus. In addition, and we also use the simple lab stimuli. And then our model is able to find that in a stable response to artificially simple stimuli and the spatial temporal tuning, it become changing from the spatial temporal independent to dependent and velocity tuning. And also the model showed a good motion integration for flat or also the spatially multiple element flat stimuli, and also be able to explain the missing fundamental or a reverse phi or a Mario illusion and Barber pole or many illusions. And actually, this is one example that the model is able to show that the pattern of the stage one shows this is the famous kind of pattern shown in the response to the plot stimulus, and at the first stage, most of the cells are sort of the component motion, respond to the component motion. But in the plot stimulus, the second stage become more sensitive to the pattern motion. And also, this is the spatial temporal stage. And if you are familiar with the classical study, that in the V1 and spatial temporal tuning is the space-time independent, and at MT there are some interactions, and the model is able to explain it well. And also it is also able to explain the temporal integration of motion signal across space. But if the local motion is the 2D and it's already determined, aperture problem is solved, the model doesn't integrate. So this is very flexible integration can be explained. And also that we tried the motion flow, passive motion flow data, and whether the model is able to explain this one. And surprisingly, we found that this model works very well. And compared to although it doesn't include the high level vector decomposition, it can see the highest partial correlation to this data. And also that although that this model is not sensitive to the second order motion, I'm not sure how many people know well about second order motion, but this is this Patrick and also the Josh made developed this field, and they showed that there is some kind of motion that is not detected by the standard luminous sensitive motion system, but many computer vision models. Current models cannot see second order motion at all. For example, they can see local flicker, but they cannot see the motion to the right of this kind of flickering stimuli. And our point, so in our study, we think that it's not very difficult to make the deep learning model that is sensitive to the second order motion, but that's not interesting because it's the artificial stimuli. So our question is why we can naturally learn the second order motion, and the argument here is that we may learn the second order motion from the perception of this kind of transparent object or a specular object, because although we see the object motion, the textures changes very rapidly and in different direction, so we need to ignore it so that the model living under trained under this situation may be able to learn the second order motion. And also we changed the model to include a kind of texture grabber in the main pathway of our model, and add two things. And then we trained the model with the diffuse world, where everything is just a diffuse reflection, and the other world is there are non-diffuse specular or transparent object world, and our result shows that the motion and the model is able to learn the second order motion very well. And it's not little time, but our model can replicate human's ability to perceive the variety of second order motion, and also we found that this the training with the diffuse data alone is not sufficient. We need to make train with the non-diffuse data. Non-diffuse materials is critical, and also we found that the just one pathway, not, without the second higher order texture grabber pathway, model is not cannot see the second order motion. And now that our model is able to this kind of very interesting water flow, and that's the point. Okay, so this is the end, and
Thank you so much.